Devastating news hit the NBA world yesterday, as it was announced that Victor Wembanyama will miss the rest of the season due to a blood clotting issue in his shoulder. After being listed as out for the first game coming out of the All-Star break due to illness, it was then reported that Wemby has deep nerve thrombosis in his left shoulder and will undergo treatment involving blood-thinning medication that will hold him out from full contact for 6 months. While the Spurs' playoff hopes had been dwindling in recent weeks, this was still a team that had something to play for post-All-Star break. They're currently just 3.5 games back of Golden State and Sacramento for the 9th seed, two teams that the Spurs hold a combined 3-1 record against, with 3 more matchups yet left to play. Instead, they'll now likely revert into a tank, aiming for the highest lottery odds possible to be given the chance to pair Wemby with a legitimate building block teammate by holding a top 10 pick in what is projected to be one of the deepest group of lottery prospects in recent NBA draft memory. This could obviously end up being a blessing in disguise if Victor is able to return at full strength at the beginning of next season as expected, but it's a terrifying diagnosis for San Antonio supporters and fans of the sport across the globe. If you're watching this video, you're most likely just like me in the way that you immediately thought about Chris Bosh when you heard the news. Bosh was forced to retire early back in 2017 after the NBA ruled his blood clotting issue to be a career-ending illness. He made an attempt at an NBA comeback a year later, but the effort was short-lived and he officially announced his retirement from the game of basketball in 2019. Now, that situation is a bit different than what we're dealing with here. Bosh dealt with multiple blood clotting issues prior to 2017, being ruled out for the second half of the 2014-15 season due to clotting in his lungs, followed by missing the final 30 games the next season after doctors found clotting in his leg. Bosh failed his physical coming into the 2016-17 season, and he never stepped on an NBA court again. We shouldn't be anticipating the same dark timeline for the league's brightest young star. This is something that both Brandon Ingram and Asar Thompson have recovered from in recent years. Yet, the idea that this could be just the beginning of a career clouded by health issues is a scary thought. I don't have to spend the next 2 minutes explaining to you how important Victor Wembanyama is to the NBA, and to the game of basketball at large. You get it. If he's unable to play without health limitations moving forward, it could alter the trajectory of the evolution of the league, eliminating what has been one of the most unique aspects of the game that we've seen in many of our lifetimes. There is no replacing or even supplementing Wemby in his absence. He's about as special of a player as we've ever seen. Not to mention the impact it would have on the Spurs franchise, who currently boast a load of young talent, but no one that even comes close to matching the potential or present-day impact of Wembanyama, even considering the newly acquired De'Aaron Fox. Alright, enough sulking about potential bad news. Let's take a look at how this could end up being the ultimate silver lining waiting for the Spurs at the start of next season. Let's stay positive for a second and assume for just a moment that this will all just be an afterthought by the time October rolls around. The team reportedly believes this is an isolated incident, one that shouldn't pop up in the future. Now, what would that mean for the Spurs? As previously mentioned, their playoff hopes for this season essentially passed away with the announcement of this news, all but locking themselves into the lottery picture. If the current standings were to remain the rest of the way, San Antonio would find themselves with the 10th best odds for the number 1 pick, holding a 3% chance at winning the lottery, with a 14% chance at a top 4 pick. However, let's take a look at the teams right below them, or maybe in this instance above them in the standings. Portland has been playing their best basketball of the season over the last month or so, and as a guy looking to save his job with a roster full of guys looking to prove themselves, Chauncey Billups and the Blazers won't be taking their foot off the gas anytime soon. Chicago, forever hopeful for a play-in tournament appearance and nothing more, will continue to fight for a top 10 seed in the East. Philadelphia has no idea what they're doing, but in theory, that's a team looking to win games down the stretch as well. Even with the potential to shut down Embiid for the season, this is a veteran-laden team that will be looking to add to the win column until the very end. Brooklyn and Toronto should be tanking, but those are also teams that have been playing very competitive basketball as of late. A combined 500 in their last 10 games, the Nets and Raps could find themselves playing their way out of a top 5 pick with their play down the stretch, especially when you consider Toronto has by far the easiest remaining strength of schedule in the league, while Brooklyn sits in the middle of the pack as of today. It's entirely feasible that without Wemby for the next 30 games, the Spurs could drop all the way to 5th in the lottery standings, which would more than triple their current odds at the top pick at 10.5%, with their chances of moving into the top 4 rising to over 42%. Even if San Antonio isn't able to recreate history, don't forget they were only in a position to win the lottery that landed them Tim Duncan because David Robinson suffered a season-ending injury the year prior. They'll still end up with the top 10 pick to add to their young promising core. In addition, they hold rights to Atlanta's pick this year as well, which may or may not end up in the lottery, but will be a valuable team-building asset nonetheless. The top of the 2025 draft class isn't exactly littered with centers, meaning San Antonio will have multiple opportunities to find meaningful additions to their roster in the draft that can complement Wemby long-term. We saw them move the latter of 2 lottery picks last summer when Minnesota selected Rob Dillingham, which wouldn't be surprising to see again, but at the very least, we should expect another lottery pick in the fold for the 2025-2026 Spurs. And sure, it's a long shot, but can we just fantasize about the idea of Cooper Flagg ending up in Alamo City?
Oh, Lord, don't get me salivating and fantasizing about things. Oh, my God.
Fox, Castle, Vassell, Flagg, and Wembanyama? Are you kidding me? That's not only a lineup that gives OKC a run for its money, but one that has the potential to run the league for years to come. Even if it ends up being VJ Edgecombe or Con Knuppel or Liam McNeely, there will be yet another intriguing puzzle piece for the coaching staff to plug into the rotation next season. Speaking of, Wemby going down for the season eliminates whatever pressure there might have been for Popovich to make any attempt at a return to the sideline this season. It would have been nice to see him come back, and I'm hopeful that he does even next season, but there was no need to rush him back in the slightest, and there certainly isn't a reason now. So while this news is a gut punch in the moment for NBA fans, it could end up being the catalyst for another Spurs dynasty if the league sprinkles just a little bit more good ping pong ball fortune on San Antonio this summer. Let me know if you agree.